Thank you very much, viewers, for joining us. We continue our coverage, and now with me is Arsalan Taj Ghuman, PS 118. He was contesting from Gulshan-e-Iqbal constituency in Karachi on PTI ticket. And with me in the studio is Imran Awan, senior lecturer, Birmingham City University. And with Hangout, we have Midhat Zaidi from Lahore. She is also a journalist working for PTV World, and he's been part of Geo and Express. So we'll talk to all these and find out what has actually happened today. So let's talk to Arsalan, please. Assalamu alaikum, Arsalan. Can you hear us?
Walaikum salam. Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you very much for joining us. Arsalan, we have obviously on Twitter, Facebook, we have seen that there has something, a big shift was happening in Karachi, and then it was stopped. So please, your opening remarks on that.
Actually, the polling was has to be started at 8 o'clock in the morning, and the polling agents from all the parties had to report at 7 o'clock in the morning, but they had asked to come at 8:30, and the polling had started at 9:30 onwards.
Okay.
So this was a pre-poll rigging at the first stage, and there were many polling stations where the election officers had not reported till 1 o'clock midday.
And especially, I think, especially in NA 250, there was a school in defense area which couldn't open till 4:30 in the evening. Is that true?
In NA 250, there were many polling stations which were not open for the voters till 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. So there was a massive rigging going on inside the polling stations, and polling officers were not present in the polling stations. The majority of the polling stations comes under 253, that is the PS 126 area, which it's a Gulstan-e-Johor area. So in my constituency, PS 118, we had pushed election commission to start the polling, and fortunately they had started the polling approximately 9 o'clock in the morning. The people were coming out from their houses. All roads were jam-packed with especially women voters were on the streets, and I was amazed when I was roaming around my...
So what happened in the end? I mean, what are the results projection on your seat, and is it been announced officially, unofficially, or?
Actually, the polling till 1 o'clock in the afternoon was really smooth, and people were going to cast their votes, and there was not actually that kind of rigging going on till 13. But then suddenly, the MKM, the party which claims to be which claims that Karachi is their mandate, and actually this is a fake mandate that they talk about, and they've clearly showed that today that what mandate they carry. They had hijacked the polling stations, and when I got to know that they are planning they're planning to hijack the whole polling station, I reached the polling station where Shaikh Khan Afridi had voted for bad for PTI, and they saw the Shaikh Khan Afridi had voted for bad. Then all women and all the youth came out from their houses and voted for PTI. So they tried to postpone the polling at that station.
So I also heard that there was an unfortunate incident involving yourself as well. Is that true?
Yes, that was the moment when I entered the polling station, Montessori Primary School in 13B. They actually attacked me.
Okay, they attacked you.
Not only me, they attacked my chief polling agent, and the female polling agent. She was along with me, and they had harassed her. They had beaten her. I was meeting by the sector in charge and unit in charge. So there was no security at all. Ranger was not present at the polling station, and police was incapable to handle such kind of situation. And the election commission officers were I won't be wrong if I say they were dummy.
Okay.
So
So
the whole, whole election,
what
it
is
was
your
not
projection,
totally about dummy.
Arsalan? What is your projection in Karachi at the moment? Is PTI winning any seats, or the results been changed?
At the current situation, if you ask me, if you had asked me around 1 or 2 p.m. in the afternoon, then I would have told you that PTI had swept half of the seats in Karachi.
Okay, both in provincial as well as in National Assembly.
Middle class areas like Gulstani Johor, PCH, Shah Faisal Colony, TH Clifton, such areas where people were coming out of their
So
houses.
is it both in, I mean, is it both in national and provincial constituencies, you're saying half of the seats, or is only the provincial or the national?
Actually, it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Okay.
It's the same thing.
So,
Yeah.
what is there any seats at the moment? I heard it was in NA 252. Ali Zaidi was leading earlier, so I'm not sure what's the result at the moment there. Is he losing now, or is it?
Yeah. He was leading in few of the polling stations. Similarly, the case was with me. I am leading in some of the polling stations, but the thing is, they had tear apart of major in the polling. They had tear apart our ballots in major polling stations.
So have you taken it?
Right.
Have you taken it up with your senior party management? Or have they taken it to election commission, or do you have a plan to go further on those things?
When we got to know about this illegalities in the procedure, we had reported to the returning officer on my seat, and he was incapable of handling such cases. And I'm not wrong if I say they are incompetent.
Okay. Last question. I mean, are you happy with the performance of PTI in these elections, or what do you think? What is the future for PTI in overall in Pakistan politics?
First of all, I would like to salute the Karachiites that they came to cast their votes. But it is unfortunate that the incompetency of election commission has let down the Karachiites.
Okay.
They have betrayed Karachiites that they couldn't control the irregularities going on in the whole election process. So I salute Karachiites that they had awakened at the right time.
Are you planning for a repoll? Are you going to election tribunals, or do you think?
Yes. We have demanded a re-election in whole Karachi, and we are asking. Our agenda is single point agenda. We demand re-election under supervision of army.
Okay.
They had promised us that army will be present at all the polling stations, but I myself have not seen a single army personnel outside any polling station.
Yeah, that was another thing. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Arsalan. We are short of time, but we wish you very best of luck in the near future, and I'm sure that rightful individuals like you will do something better for the country. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for taking up.
Thank you. Coming to you, how do you see Karachi as a part of 75% of the economy generating from a Karachi area, and pre-poll and post-poll rigging?
Yeah, it's a real shame. I mean, all the images I've been seeing this morning on Pakistani media outlets keep showing ballot boxes burnt, people injured.
And there were some stations which were not even open till 4 o'clock.
Oh yeah, exactly. So I salute, as your caller just said, the Pakistani people and the people from Karachi who have still stood out in the face of threats from the Taliban. So I think Karachi, as we all know, has become a hotbed for extremism and radicalization.
Okay, but the new forces like PTI, and they should
come up. Absolutely, yeah. They've
done
Hidayat,
what's your take on that? Karachi.
The situation in Karachi, we didn't expect something to be too peaceful or as peaceful as it was in Punjab or other parts where polling did happen smoothly. But what happened today was unprecedented and unexpected. Nobody could have expected that you would just hijack the whole polling station, or some party would, or some mafia would, because that was something that we could not even think of. However, since what we've been hearing before, I guess this is what has been happening in Karachi
for the
throughout history,
for the
but
last
nobody realized.
3 decades. Okay, you know, I mean, NF 249, Dr. Farooq Sattar was standing as a MQM candidate, and I was surprised by looking at the results. He had this 6,000 or 7,000 votes, and the party opposing him, they didn't have even single vote casted. I mean, how do you look at this? At least the candidate would have voted for himself, the opposing one.
Yeah, exactly. So there should have been a few votes if they wanted to at least seem fair, if not be fair. But well, Farooq Sattar is, of course, a big candidate, and he was one of the leading candidates, and not exactly somebody you would not vote for at all. However, somebody who's standing in election against him would at least vote for himself. You're right. So there should have been a few votes. I can't say much. Well,
Okay, so
what happens in Karachi, the statistics of Karachi, they're really difficult for anyone else to even interpret. Because,
so do you think, on the basis, on the reports which we have so far, that there should be free and fair election again in the all areas of Karachi, with the supervision of army in place, inside, outside the polling stations?
how much protection can you give to to a city that big? It has a population larger than some countries in the world. So how can you expect that Karachi, being such a large city with such diversity that you would find across Pakistan, you'd find it in Karachi alone?
Okay.
You cannot expect Karachi to be very peaceful. There have to be conflicts. There will be conflicts because nothing would change overnight. Army can do its share. Army can make the elections more peaceful. But can the army completely take over and completely reshape the statistics and the whole thing in Karachi? You cannot expect that.
Okay.
However, the 42 polling stations that have been are declared that they will
That's
have
in
polling again.
NA 250. Okay, stay with us, Midhat. We do have Meher Tarar from Lahore, Daily Times senior journalist. Assalamu alaikum, Meher Tarar.
Assalamu alaikum ji.
Can you hear us?
Thank you for having me on the show.
Okay, Meher, tell us, I mean, did you predict this sort of election, or is it unprecedented in terms of turnover in the very first place, and the results especially?
Yes, that is true. The turnout is something people did not expect. But yes, we expected people to turn out the way they did, but yes, it is unprecedented. ऐसा कभी हुआ नहीं है.
Okay, and what about the results, actual results?
I think it's close to 60. Honestly speaking, this is what I thought would happen. I live in Lahore. I talk to people all the time, and for some reason, people have never really shown any. I can't explain it. They have never really shown deep-seated hatred or even dislike for the Sharif brothers.
Okay.
People in Lahore they like the PMLN.
So
they believe the PMLN has tried to do something for them, even though a lot of them think that the development work has not gone beyond Lahore. But for some reason, I can't explain it. As I said this on Twitter yesterday, the biggest advantage PMLN has as compared to PTI or PPP is that there's no hero worshipping in this party. The Sharif brothers are not gods for people.
Okay.
उनकी बड़ी solid expectations थी इनसे. That's exactly what has happened.
No, but don't you think they were very, I mean, as portrayed in the media itself, that it was a very neck and neck fight amongst the almost 100 seats across Pakistan?
Look, as far as, yes, I saw it in Lahore too. Everybody I saw was holding a PTI flag. People were, everybody I talked to was voting for PTI. But as I said, Lahore on its own, number one, is Nawaz Sharif's city. People, we knew, for instance, if there are 9 seats, there were 9 seats being contested from Lahore, we thought PTI would win 2. And the other thing is there are certain areas in Pakistan which have very strong constituencies of PMLN, like Sialkot or Gujranwala, or I think even Rawalpindi and Gujjar Khan and Attar. There are lots of areas where they have very strong.
So, what's the future ahead? Your predictions, please. What do you think? Obviously, we know that Nawaz Sharif will form the government, but is he going to bring everyone on table? And I mean.
That's what he just announced. And this is what I said this on Twitter, that this is one party which seems to have learned from its mistakes. PPP is secular, ANP is brave, MQM talks about the middle class and the lower middle class, and PTI is untried, so we can't even comment on them. And if we could put all these parties together, we would have a perfect party. But that's not going to happen. But I actually said this about PMLN, that I have not, even though I work in a newspaper, but I don't really watch TV a lot. I've stopped watching TV. I just thought there was a lot of crap on TV constantly. So I don't even know what people were saying, but I always got this impression that Nawaz Sharif was the only national leader who seemed to be sensible enough to say what he should have said as a man of his stature, or as a man who has been the Prime Minister twice and who have failed and who has learned from whatever happened to him.
Meher, very important question.
Yes.
Very important question from a Shia Muslim's point of view. I mean, we always had this feeling he had these associations with Lashkar-e-Jhangvi, and I mean, he had at least 2, he was been supporting at least 2 candidates from NA 89 and 178, and these were the known terrorists, especially in Gujarat as well. So how do you see, I mean, is it going to be more radicalized Pakistan, or?
You see, I actually, one of Daily Times assistant editors went to Dera Ismail Khan a few days ago, and she wrote an article about it. It was about, she attended a PPP rally of Faisal Karim Kundi, who was the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly. And she talked about, I think she even mentioned the name of the mullah who was speaking at that rally.
Okay.
And that man was talking about the infidels and killing people and this and that, the usual crap that comes from all these people. And it was a PPP rally. And so to, honestly speaking, yes, I've even edited articles about it. I've even tweeted about it, PMLN's association with these people. But I don't think it's anything more than, what is it called?
So do you think, will they be sensible enough?
I don't think there's any kind there. They will promote any kind of radicalization. I think as I said, PMLN seems to be the only party, because the fight was basically the public fight was between PTI and PPP. But in Punjab, of course, PMLN and PTI were constantly attacking one another. But as I said, simply because as they have won a number of seats, they had all. I mean, these are their traditional seats. It's nothing new. And for whatever reason, maybe it's misplaced, maybe it's over the top, but people in Punjab actually think that Muslim League Nawaz Sharif has done something.
Okay, and they can deliver.
Given a chance.
Okay,
Yes,
last
given a
question.
chance,
How do you
if
see
they have
PTI? I
central
mean,
government, yes.
how do you see PTI playing their role in the next few days?
No comments.
I
I have no idea.
Okay.
Frankly speaking, honestly speaking, even though I support PTI, I don't think. I never thought they would get a number of seats, and that's exactly what has happened. So I don't know what they would be doing, because PTI does not see eye to eye with either of the 2 parties. So of course, the only thing I can imagine.
But do you think will they be able to form a government in KP Khyber Pakhtunkhwa? Do you think?
You see, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa's result has been very, very unusual.
And
He has
that's,
not won a
I think
single
that's the
seat,
landslide he was
which is
expecting all over
very
Pakistan.
unfortunate. I think it's very unfortunate what has happened to ANP. I think that's one of the worst things that could have happened to that province. But now PMLN has one seat there and PTI has one seat. So I think I don't know, honestly speaking, because looking at the reality, but looking at the political parties in Pakistan and how they make alliances with one another after elections, nobody can say anything. यहाँ
Okay.
कुछ भी हो सकता है.
Okay, thank you very much, Meher, for joining us. What do you think? How it's going to unfold?
I think it's a very difficult situation. You know, Pakistan, there is a Haider global insurgency from a plethora of terrorist groups like Lashkar-e-Janvi, Pakistani Taliban. So I think there has to be some sort of room for negotiations in lots of these issues. In particular, I think, first of all, Imran Khan and the PTI should be congratulated for at least galvanizing the Pakistani public to come out and actually vote. So I think that's a real positive. And Nawaz Sharif himself a couple of days ago said he wanted to end the war on terror. So I think that's going to have a big impact, especially for those in Britain.
So that's I mean, how he's been saying in the recent interviews that he will have a Kargil commission formed as well, and then he will hand over a copy of the commission report to India. Yes. So a military establishment relationship, and then obviously, you know, war on terror, ending war on terror, how is it going to happen?
But you see, this is the difference between him and, say, Imran Khan, because he's been very woolly in his interpretation, Nawaz Sharif. So he hasn't given any real explanation as to how he'll end the war on terror. Whereas Imran Khan has come out and said, look, we need to stop drones, for example. We need to actually have
and PMLN, I think, Midhat, please agree with me, PMLN has never took a stance on drones attacks, have they?
I'm not exactly sure if they have, but they've said some things about ending the war on terror and being against it. It's not our war. That is not true, however, and the army chief just said that this is our war. When we lose people, we lose soldiers, we fight somebody. How can you call it not our war?
So how this military establishment, is going to, deal with this sort of prime minister who wants to make a commission on Kargil, and then who wants to have a good relationship with India, who wants to finish war on terror? How? No one knows.
Have you seen how Kayani functions? Kayani has a very different way of doing things. He was the first COS who went to a polling station and actually cast his vote. That is something that was never seen in Pakistan's history. So Kayani has a very different way of doing things, and Kayani seems to be mysteriously very politically and diplomatically well versed in handling politicians and civilian governments.
I remember General Panetta, CI director, Panetta said the same thing about Kayani a few years ago. Okay, please continue.
So they might just fare well and they might just go along pretty nicely. However, Kayani is leaving by the end of this year. So that would be something that might affect, and we'll have to see who takes his place. So then things might change. However, as I say that, as Kayani works, he might just get along with PMLN just fine.
Okay, what's the future of Zardari, President of Pakistan, especially now?
President of Pakistan may have to go.
He may have to go.
He's supposed to leave by October, I think.
Okay.
So,
by September. All right. We do have Iman Hazir from Edinburgh, and she used to be a PTI activist earlier, but let's talk to her and see how she takes this PTI. Assalamu alaikum, Iman. Thank you very much for joining us. So, is it a success, or is it a failure, or is it just a trying to reinvent the wheel?
To be honest, I have mixed feelings on this, but I believe that PTI has transformed itself from a party that did not have much support, did not have more than one seat, to a party that is now the second largest party in Pakistan and will probably be forming the assembly in KPK. And I think that's a major success for a party that has brought about hope and change in the country that has suffered at the hands of the corrupt ruling elite for the last 5 years.
So, I mean, I can understand your point of view that, but don't you think Khyber Pakhtunkhwa is not easy to rule sort of province, because we have seen MMA ruled it from 2002 to 2007 and then they were washed out. ANP came and this time I think they haven't, up till now, they haven't got 2 to 3 provincial seats.
Well, there's two things that I'd like to mention here. Firstly, I think that, like you're saying, it's not an easy province to rule. It's not an easy province to govern. But KPK is also the province that shows the most sensibility in its voting patterns. Between 1993 and now, 2013, it has voted out all the parties that proved that they were failures, that proved that they were incompetent. So in that sense, I think that this is a big achievement for PTI and for the province in itself. And secondly, I think that this is the challenge that Khan wanted, and he has accepted that challenge. And I think that when he implements the policies which have won him that support in that area, in that province, I think that that's when further change is going to come and further support for PTI is going to build up.
So it could be a long-term objective in terms of ruling, being a prime minister after 5 years, I would say. But you know that he's been saying about tsunami, and obviously not with a negative connotation. Obviously he has to come up and say these sort of things while contesting, and I think we have seen he has fought bravely in this whole campaign, fighting for the last 17 years, and obviously massive turnout. But how do you see him sitting be in the opposition? We don't know yet, but what is your perception in the next few days?
Well, to be honest, I don't really want to make a judgment till all the results are out, but I think that if PTI does form an opposition, I think it's going to be one of the strongest oppositions, which is essential for democracy and essential for Pakistan to develop as a democracy. Because if PTI forms an opposition under Imran Khan's leadership, I think that ensures a healthy system of checks and balances, which is necessary for a country like Pakistan, which needs the democratic process to develop and strengthen.
So it will be a great check and balance system in place at least. It won't be a friendly opposition, I would say, if it goes ahead.
Well, I think that basically PTI needs to work a little on its diplomacy skills, as Nawaz Sharif has done in his speech today. He's given the impression that he's willing to take all parties on board, which is what PTI should also be doing. They should be giving, a sense. There should be gestures of goodwill on, all sides. And I think that that's also important for.
So it's more about political maturity, which I rarely see in PTI workers. Especially they've been very defamed about their trolling skills, I would say, on Twitter, and because they're young, energetic. So will they accept this sort of diplomatic skills, or is something in making?
Well, to be honest, because I've been the victim of their, trolling, as you call it. But I think that I've seen a change also, and I've seen that people are understanding, PTI workers are understanding that they need to act more responsibly, especially after this entire incident with Imran Khan happened, which is very unfortunate. But I think that it was a very serious wake-up call to PTI workers to act in a more responsible manner. So, I mean, we can't make any judgments right now. It's too soon. But one would hope that they have learned and that they will be taking more responsibility.
Okay, one last question before you go. Imran has been very vocal about drone attacks, and obviously the center focus of these drone attacks is Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Nawaz Sharif being in the power in the center, and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa being held by Tehreek-e-Insaf. Who will make the decisions about that? I mean, is it going to be more conflict?
Well, so far, I think that because overtly, also PMLN has shown its lack of support for drone attacks, I think there's no reason why the two should conflict over this policy issue. And in fact, I think that they should encourage each other to take a stronger stance on the drone attacks issue, as PTI has independently done as well throughout, a 16-year struggle. So I think that when it comes down to it, there's going to be a massive change that comes about in KPK, especially on the issue of drone attacks, which is one of Pakistan's focal concerns right now in terms of its strategic issues.
Okay, thank you very much, Iman, and hopefully when we speak to you next time, we will have more to talk about PTI within KPK. Thank you very much for joining us. Drone attacks. You've been very, your specialized field. What do you see happening in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa?
Well, I'm hopeful. I think they have to negotiate. They have to work together, both Nawaz Sharif and PTI, if this is going to actually stop. And I agree totally with Imran Khan on this, that drone attacks actually foments more radicalization. And in actual fact, it creates more extremists. So I think there has to be some sort of working between the two parties together to say to the US that, look, we're not going to condone any more drone attacks because it kills innocent people. None of the drone attacks to date name individuals that they've targeted, for example. So
one party in Pakistan, they acknowledge the killing of one known terrorist, and the other party does not have a...
Exactly. Okay. So I take Imran Khan's stance on this, that it's both immoral and insane, because it's immoral in the sense that you're not actually telling the Pakistani electorate what you're actually, who you're killing in these attacks, and it's insane because in actual fact you're just fomenting further radicalization.
Do you think, it's really possible for be it Nawaz Sharif, be it Imran Khan, to stand up and say, negotiate these terms with United States or the West?
I hope so. I'm very optimistic. I think Imran Khan, that's one of the great things he did, was he really did galvanize the Pakistani public, and there were all these protests he did while he was actually gathering support against drone attacks. And he was very vocal, and those protests were broadcast across UK media outlets. So I think the decision of having Nawaz Sharif in has an impact on us here in Britain, and in particular the whole role of this so-called war on terror.
Okay, I'll come back to you on this Nawaz Sharif being in power. And Midhat, drone attacks. How do you see, what is the future of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province?
Imran Khan, we've been talking about Imran Khan, and Imran Khan said that he'll probably shoot down a drone.
Yes, that's a very highly charged statement as well, I would say.
But the forces, the armed forces, they would be under the federal government. So unless Nawaz Sharif wants him to shoot down a drone, he will not be able to do that. However, he has won a lot of support in KPK because of his policies against the war on terror and against the drone strikes. KPK being the worst affected province in the war on terror, they of course wanted out of it, and they opted for it, and they voted. The voting patterns show that what they wanted. So Imran Khan's stance has won him KPK's seat, and he probably has absolute majority to form a government there, or if he doesn't, he should probably make it with ANP, whatever small number of seats they may have, because ANP of course has rendered a lot of sacrifices, and we cannot ignore them. Now, about the drone strikes and Nawaz Sharif, he has been a little unclear about it. He has also been a little unclear about his stance on sectarian violence and other events that have been happening. So cannot say what his stance would be, but he has come into power with popular support. So if in case he wants to keep it, he will have to entertain the public as well, a little bit at least.
Okay, all right. We're joined by Wasi Haider now. Assalamu alaikum, Wasi, can you hear us?
Yes, wa alaikum salam, I can hear you.
Okay, Wasi is an overseas Pakistan, has gone especially to vote this time, and I will not disclose who is voted for, but the party he was voting for has lost. So what is the reaction? What actually has happened in Pakistan today?
Actually, first of all, I would like to thank you. Like you give me the time, and the main thing I want to tell you, everything in Pakistan, everybody wants change, and what I was expecting is same thing here. Everybody was tired of corruption, load shedding, electricity, gas,
But change didn't
and
come.
other main problems. So
But change
everybody
did
has,
not come.
decide
I think
their signs.
you are representing NA 108, where PMLN candidate has won with a majority. So, and
Yeah, majority.
the most important thing is the Federal Minister for Capital Development Area, Nazar Mohammed Gondal, was contesting, and it was one of the very few seats People's Party was holding on to. So they have lost badly, I believe. Have they?
Yeah, they have lost almost in our district, Mandi Bahauddin, they have lost almost till now. At the moment, they have lost about 4 to 5 seats.
Okay.
So, and we're still waiting for the results. But at the moment, what I want to tell you is the all in majority seats they have lost. Only because of because everybody was looking for the change, and they have performed well actually. They have tried their best in their consequences in the last 5 years, but I don't know what happened actually. I'm very confused what's going on. So because in all over province Punjab, everything has been everything has been changed.
Okay, and what about, I think there was another Nazar Mohammed Gondal's brother or brother-in-law. He was contesting from another seat from Sargodha, and in 61 he lost as well, Haji Muhammad Afzal Gondal.
It was no. There was one seat of his brother-in-law in Sargodha division. This constituency calls NA 64.
64.
And
okay.
till now, what I have information is he also lost the seat for NA 64.
Okay. And so basically,
and the majority seat is gone to PMLN in Sargodha.
People's Party has been diminished, has been evaporated for all this central Punjab region. So what happened to Imran Khan's Tehreek-e-Insaf?
Yes, Tehreek-e-Insaf, PTI is actually good, but not in province in Punjab. Actually, they are very good, and they smashed almost ANP in NWSP.
What happened? What happened in your area? I mean, what are the results in your area? Because you are representing a rural area of Punjab, and I want to know.
In our area, they have not won any seats actually, and all their candidates have won about none seat in our district.
Okay.
They get some votes, but no, they're only minors, not more.
Okay. Thank you very much, Wasi, for joining us. Hidayat, just another caller from Pakistan, especially going to vote. PPP, is it their performance incumbency, or what do you say? What exactly has happened? Because they have dented PTI as well. Hidayat, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Please.
Achha. I think your caller was a PPP supporter, and there's one thing that we say, that you cannot argue with the Jala, because Jalas don't think with their brain but their hearts, and they're still in love with Bhutto and all that, and so they wouldn't say that PPP has not done anything. However, what the voting patterns this time depict is that PPP did not come up to expectation. People voted them into power this last time. They did not perform. They did not win their hearts, and they did not get any more support.
And also, I mean, I want to add another thing, that being the Liberal Progressive Party, personally, I think, and being on the left, they did not do anything regarding sectarian violence.
That has just become a myth. PPP, being a secular party, is only a slogan and no more. It is no more a secular party.
Has it moved to right?
It has not moved to anywhere that the people would like.
Okay.
It's just somewhere we don't like it being there.
Okay.
The thing is that I don't know, maybe the whole point is that this time we saw people come out of their homes and they voted. And I was standing in queue for 4 hours under the sun.
Okay.
Okay, and I was just waiting for my turn to vote. And while I was standing, I also saw people, I also saw ladies walking with sticks on crutches and all kind of stuff, and in their 60s, in their 80s, and that is something that you would not expect. And a lady who was so out of breath, she could not even say a word, she could
And she
not
came to
even
vote.
ask us.
I think
Yeah,
it
ask
was
us to
more
just
about people were desperate for change in any terms. I mean, they wanted to
this
speak out.
is the change. This is the change
So it was
Pakistan
not
needed.
promised by Imran Khan, it was given by
No.
Nawaz Sharif.
No,
Okay.
no, no.
Okay.
I won't say that. This is the change Pakistan wanted, Pakistan needed. Pakistan needed people to come out and stand up for themselves and vote. Voting patterns do not have to be necessarily governed by people you and I know. There are lots of other people who would vote for somebody who has benefited them in some manner, or who they revere in some way, or any other reasons.
Okay.
However, Pakistan needed people to come out and vote.
So they have
Everyone with
they
an
have
income.
spoken today. All right, let me bring in Imran here.
Yeah.
Imran, country, bad economy, Indian elections next year, Iranian elections next month, and new Russian Premier Nawaz Sharif. How do you see their relationship building across the region?
I think it's going to be a very difficult job for him actually to try and keep everybody happy and to try and work in his own interests as well as their interests. I do think though there has to be a top-down change, so there has to be a governance structure in Pakistan that allows things like schools, hospitals, law enforcement, negotiations, all these types of things that actually filter out and stop the corruption that exists there. Because we all know that's one of the key things why.
But if you ask me personally, I think corruption, I will put it on a side. First thing for me is war on terror or sectarian violence. How would he handle those when he have the support of those banned outfits within the parliament, let's say some sort of ideological support within the ranks of his own party?
I mean, there's, I think, two things. First of all, of course, he's come out and said he wants to end the war on terror without giving any sort of explanation how he'd do it in terms of military-wise. But, you know, I remember watching an interview today with a small child and they asked him, what do you want to see from the elections? And the first thing he said was, I'd like my electricity to work.
That's really,
you know, it's the domestic and the common things that I think he needs to get right first. He needs to give the public those things like electricity, water, literacy, schools, universities, you know, all those things that make a country strong before he can start thinking about trying to deal with this Hydra global insurgency that he has to face as well.
So, I mean, do you think these things can work in parallel? You have, which they say in Pakistan now, that Indus is dividing actually the whole region. On the right-hand side, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan, you have insurgency, people from Uzbekistan, Russia, they've been residing there, drone attacks, consequence of that. And then those people, or some part of those areas, they go from that side across the Indus, do the sectarian violence, and come back because no one, those are their hideouts. So how do you think it's a fight for survival for people?
Yeah, I think it's a major challenge, and we've already heard from your commentators the whole issue about the military and using the law enforcement like the police. I mean, I've just published an article today on Pakistani policing in terror and in the fight on terror, and we know that the fact that the police are facing problems. We know that they're not in terms of funding and in terms of where money is actually being allocated. So I think he does face a difficult challenge, but I do believe, and we don't know yet, but if there is a coalition, for example, who else is going to be working with him? Who else is going to have some type of influence? Because the sort of sound bites that are coming outside from the Sharif family is that we are stopping this war on terror, and it's following the Pakistani sentiment. I think people in Pakistan at the moment have a very strong sort of anti-drone, anti-American sort of stance point, and I think he's playing on that. So it'll be interesting to see what he does when eventually he forms a government.
Okay. We're joined by caller Hiba Aksa. She's been on our show before as well. When we started the series on Pakistani. Assalamu alaikum, Hiba. Can you hear us?
Walaikum assalam. I can hear you.
Thank you very much. Are you happy with the results? I mean, what you were expecting? We have spoken about it 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So, what is your reaction?
I mean, the last time I spoke, I did say that when you asked me, do you expect PTI to win the election, I said no. But as I said that, as it's turned out, so I actually think it's turned out pretty well. I think he's exceeded expectations of most people, because I don't think 4 years ago, 5 years ago, we would have ever imagined that Hidayat would have actually come to this point of popularity. Although I'm a little disappointed that this party has been re-elected, but we'll see how the next few years go.
Okay. Do you think this government or they will be able to deliver the basics to Pakistani public?
I think so.
Are you hopeful?
I'm hopeful. I mean, I do know that it is quite divided, as usual in Pakistan. You can always kind of predict where the votes are going to come from. But I hope we can pull through together this time.
And what about your emotions for Imran Khan? Do you feel bad about him that he's been struggling for 17 years and yet another?
I mean, not at all. I would describe Pakistan as effectively a democratic monarchy.
Okay.
It's families that have been in power for a long time, and it's really hard to break. There's a lot of people that are emotionally connected to these parties, so it's really hard to break that cycle. And I think Imran Khan has, with the youth, he's like broken this barrier. You can already see it with the rising popularity, and hopefully next time in elections that overseas Pakistanis will be able to vote. And
yes,
I do know that
yes, that's all. Okay, thank you very much, Hiba, for giving us this hope that we will be able to vote next time, and hopefully Imran Khan will be able to serve next time if he's been elected by the people of Pakistan. Coming back to war on terror, we do have as I was speaking to Bintat as well, that a right Nawaz Sharif on the right hand side, and then obviously more right center is Imran Khan. Can they work together?
I hope so. I honestly do feel that there has to be some sort of negotiation and them working together. I think that's the only way you can actually try and deal with the issue of the war on terror. I think what the votes have told us and what this whole democratic process is, that I define it as a Pakistani spring, because although PTI didn't win, I think the fact people came out to vote, I think there is a...
That was very promising, especially in this weather in Pakistan.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, Midhat, tell us, I mean, you live, I believe, very close to Shaukat Khanum, where Imran Khan is in hospital. So, tell us, what do you think? How he must be reacting now?
When I was coming home yesterday, last night I traveled from Islamabad just to vote.
Okay, that's great.
When I was coming to my home, we got stuck in traffic at Shaukat Khanum.
Okay.
That was because a lot of youngsters, they were just standing outside of Shaukat Khanum and chanting slogans, although they were not allowed to hold a proper rally because 48 hours before elections, rallies had been stopped and barred from happening. However, they still were standing there. Imran Khan was probably thinking of a very higher result, but if you've seen what the turnout of progressive results has been till yet, Imran Khan is now on the third. PTI is on the third. It has 33 seats. PPP has 34 seats. But have you seen how the independent candidates are really doing well? 26 independents have won till now. So they might play a very crucial role in forming a government.
But with that, I mean, we both know that how these independents and they work. I mean, they have to announce their affiliation within the next 3 days, and obviously drawing rooms will be there, and money will be rolled out.
A lot of independents would probably side with the party which won, which is going to form the government. That is what normally happens. So it is probably going to happen. But you know what? I was supporting PTI towards the end of the election
Okay.
trail, and since PTI did not win, I'm not upset. To be very honest, I am not upset. They need to sit in the opposition, do some good, nice, well thought opposition in the Pakistani National Assembly, and they have to act their role and gain political majority while they're at it. Because PTI, you were talking to Meher Tara, and she was saying, you also talking to Miss Mazari about it, that PTIs are trolling and all that. They are not just doing that over there. A lot of PTI kids who are on the streets, they think that they're so there's this wrong perception of being westernized in Pakistan,
Okay.
that if you're sort of a little westernized, you would have to be some
Okay,
something
that's
is
the public
not
perception of PTI.
civilized.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Stay
So that-
with me, Midhat. I'm just joined by Ali Zaidi, founder of Pakistan Youth Alliance. Assalamu alaikum, Ali.
Walaikum Assalam, how are you?
Exactly what, tell us, Ali, what has happened today? People have spoken out, but in what direction the country is heading?
Actually, the results are not that much unpredictable. It was predicted by almost every political pundit and guru that PMLN will lead the polls and PTI will get around
let me interrupt you. I think you
party will not lose its mandate in Sindh.
You tweeted in the morning.
I would say it is not a surprise. But yes, the PTI has caused a major dent to People's Party outside Sindh. It has caused a major dent to PMLN's blatant majority in Punjab, and also it has almost swept Pakhtunkhwa. So it will be a very interesting government that will be formed, and it will really test everyone. No one has totally lost, no one has totally won. And it will be a coalition government with PTI in Pakhtunkhwa battling the Taliban. It is known to be pro-Taliban. It is known to be Taliban apologizing in its stance by many critics. So this will really test them. And on the other hand, People's Party will have time to soul search and introspect in Sindh, and the PMLN will lead from the center. So I think it might end up being good for Pakistan, because I've seen too much positivity today to be hopeless, you know.
But you know, I mean, I was referring to your tweet. You tweeted earlier in the morning that from Swat to Karachi, you can expect a very unprecedented result. But did you expect this?
Yeah. This expectation was because mainly our reach is towards the urban Pakistan. We talk about Peshawar, we talk about Swat, we talk about Lahore, we talk about, main centers of Pakistan. And as you have seen that PTI has taken Islamabad, PTI has taken many seats in Rawalpindi, it has taken seats in Lahore, it has taken seats in Peshawar. So the urban part has been, you can say has been, it was predictable. But the rural Pakistan, it is very unpredictable. Unpredictable because the families that are ruling Pakistan, Pakistani politics for about 40, 50, 60 years now are the ones who are now elected. Be it from PTI, Javed Hashmis and Shah Mahmood Qureshis and Kasuris and, and Khan himself. These are not new faces. These are all old faces that have reappeared under a new brand. So in that sense, nothing, if we say that underprivileged class was given representation in the National Assembly, that has not happened. And that to me will be the only revolution.
So at least it's a very first step.
Given representation in a mass representation in
Do you agree it's a first step?
So yeah, we were expecting more seats. We were expecting around 60, 70, not 100, 60, 70, because the trend and the hype in the youth voter was too much. But sad to say that was mainly in urban Pakistan, not in rural Pakistan.
Okay, thank you very much, Ali, for joining us. And Midhat, we were talking about, tell us about what is the future of People's Party? Ali has mentioned they have to go back and reflect. But do you see all the Gilanis and the Chaudhurys and the Gondals, they have lost badly?
But so, as Ali said, that a lot of old feudals and, they're just old people under a new banner. So they're the same people, and all the Gilanis and Chaudhrys and other people, they would also be, I'll say they're just the same people. If they stay loyal to PPP, they might suffer for this tenure, but maybe PPP would do some good opposition as well, and PPP would gain support again. So you cannot count on that. And since Pakistan tends to vote for people, Pakistanis tend to vote for people they think of as their leaders, spiritual leaders, masters, feudals, industrialists, somebody who leads them. They probably don't divert from it so easily.
So
And
there is there any reason to celebrate? Because it's the same faces with a different brand in the assemblies.
I've been saying it all day. Pakistan came out and voted. Everyone with an ink thumb is a winner today.
Okay.
We have never seen this kind of turnout ever before. I just told you my experiences at the polling station, and I that was not one lady. There were several. There were several women carrying days old kids, and they were coming out, and they were coming to the polling station to vote. They might not be able to stand in line for as long as we did, but they came out.
And I think
So,
I think 50
that's what
percent,
matters.
50%, 60% was the turnout. I've been just told by the official election commission. So 60% is very impressive, I believe.
60% is more than impressive if you consider Pakistan. And you also have to take into account that a lot of women came out and voted.
Okay.
A lot of youth came out and they cast their vote. Uh, People who would just sit in their homes and see what's happening on TV, and who don't actually get affected because they have huge generators that would not even let them know if there was a power failure.
Power failure or not. Okay. Let me
Yeah.
come back to you, Midhat. What is the future? Is it prosperous? First of all, General Kayani will be leaving in a few months. What is the president, Zardari's future? He's the president.
Oh, Zardari's future is very unpredictable. I think eventually,
Like himself.
Exactly. Yes. I think that's one thing that everybody's unanimous in agreement is that the People's Party Zardari have lost very badly. And I think the Pakistani electorate came out and told the government they don't want them anymore. So the Prime Minister did very badly, I believe, as well. And the whole PPP and it's, I suppose, that debate about rural and urban areas, because I think what's happened clearly in the more rural areas is that Bradri type system, and voting on that basis meant the People's Party was still close, so to speak, although the Sharif brothers did well there. And in the more urban areas, we saw.
So he will be out of the office, you think?
Yes,
he will be.
Yeah, I believe he'd be out.
Okay, Midhat, your take. We're just about to wind up. What is the future of President Zardari?
President Zardari,
He's a very intelligent man.
he is probably more intelligent than Kyani is, and he stays quiet, and he sits in his president's house and doesn't come out, but he stays. So you cannot say anything about it, about him. I once met him at a journalist conference, and we were invited to a lunch at the presidency. We asked him in a very,
Nicest possible
simple
way.
manner, and we were like, nicest possible manner. And my friend, who's a fashion journalist, by the way, she had the guts and she asked him, how can one become a politician like you, the way that you are? And that was a loaded question. Zardari was surrounded by a couple of ministers, Bakaira being one of them, and they were all taken aback. He stopped for a little while, and then he says, grow thick skin around yourself. Do not bother about what anyone says. Just do what you think is right and what you believe in. So he's probably doing what he believes in, and he stays. And what he believes in has kept him in the presidency for long enough.
Okay.
So
So, I mean, is it a yes or no
yeah.
answer? Do you see him in the president house? Personally, I see him.
You can't say if PMLN forms an alliance with PPP, that might just happen.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Midhat, for joining us at this hour, especially in Lahore, which is around 2 o'clock in the morning. And thank you very much, Imran, for joining us in the studio. Viewers, we were unable to take calls because of our live feed and our guest. And we'll go to Manchester now, and you can call there, and then you can speak to Farooq by there, and then you can discuss your opinion. And at least only one thing which has happened, and everyone is in agreement over that, that Pakistan has spoken, they have voted out, and this trend should continue, and we will expect a better future for Pakistan.